Why? What? Am I doing a bad job? Am I allowed to tell that story?
Bless you.
Because you can't say inappropriate things.
This is speaking the truth.
The whole fam is here. Okay. We posted a Q&A on my Instagram because the hope is none of you know us, or a lot of you know me, or a lot of you know Austin, but no one knows us like together or very much at all. Like the odds are you went to high school with us or you go to church with us, and there's just not a whole lot of background that you have. And so we posted a Q&A and we're gonna go through these questions. And the truth is, we were gonna not read any of them, but we didn't decide that until after I already read like 5 of them. And so I know like a few of them, so don't be mad. But I'm gonna read them and then we'll just go back and forth. First one says, who has better style?
It's not even a question.
Who has better style?
Yeah,
Who do you think has better style?
I do.
I don't think that's true. I think our styles are different.
I think our styles are actually more similar than you think, but
Well, I think some of our styles are, but I think you have one set style, you know?
I can see that.
It's like, well, you have like basketball style, and then like trendy boy style, and then your work clothes. That's like the 3 Austins.
The work clothes isn't a style.
I know, but the versions of you, I feel like that is what it is.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Who is more organized?
You are. That
I am.
again, that's not another question.
I am
That's-
more
yeah.
organized.
Uh,
Austin's not dirty, he's
There it is,
messy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't handle that either. So that's why like we're good for each other, because we fill in the gaps that the other people lack in. Do you agree?
Mhm.
The other one lacks.
I don't have to do anything, and she does everything. It's perfect.
Favorite meal to cook as a wifey? I don't know if you have experienced this, but I thought when I got married, I was gonna get like superhero wife powers and just know how to do everything. And that wasn't the case. And you gotta learn as you go. Austin cooks most of the meat, and then I cook like the little extra stuff. And so I would say like, I don't know, I like when we cook shrimp. We cook shrimp with everything.
We do.
Shrimp and rice and vegetables and nothing crazy.
Mm-mm.
We cook a lot of frozen pizza, if I'm being honest. Who wants kids more?
I do.
I think Austin does too.
Yeah,
We want kids, obviously, but like, I don't think either of us are itching to have kids like tomorrow.
No. I just think, I don't know. I was going to say I've been around kids more, but that's not true because everyone in your family has a new kid, so I don't.
Yeah, there's lots of babies in our family right now, which makes me feel like I should have a baby, kind of. But it is what it is, you know. We're both young. I'm young, he's young, and so we have time. This says, what was the funniest thing that's ever happened to you two?
To us two?
Yeah. I guess like together, not like you or me, like at the same time. Oh, I know the most embarrassing. We were dating and we were at Thanksgiving. Was it Thanksgiving?
Are you going to tell that story?
Yeah. Was it Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
And I was with a bunch of his family that I'd never met before. And one of his relatives was saying that they went to, was it Club Rodeo? I thought Club Rodeo was like a horse riding event. Anyway, so I didn't know what it was. And I have some friends that like do like rodeo stuff, like legit horse rodeo stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have friends that do Club Rodeo. And she was like, who are they? Maybe I might know who they are. And I said their names, and she was like, oh, I don't know them. And then I said their age, and they weren't 18. Do you have to be 18 to get in, or 21?
I think just 18.
Whatever. They weren't the age that you had to get in. And she was like, oh, wow, that's crazy that they do that because they have to like have some special way of getting in. And I was so confused. And I knew when we weren't making the correlation between the rodeo and the club rodeo and the horses, I knew there wasn't a connection being made. And then I think you noticed that I was embarrassing myself without even knowing.
I knew right away.
Yeah, and you didn't stop me because you didn't know what to say.
I'm a watcher. I like watching everything.
Anyway, that was very embarrassing because I don't even know if she ever processed that I was so confused. Next question. How long were you guys together before you got married? 3 years.
3 years.
3 years? Yep. 3 long, long years. Okay, this says, did you live together before you got married? We did not. We did not live together before we got married. We had an apartment, and then another apartment, and then a house during our whole dating relationship. And then I lived with my parents our whole dating relationship.
So you moved all your stuff in like a week before we got married, and then just kind of like camped out at your parents' house until...
Yeah, I slept on the couch for 4 days before our wedding. And so I had this like vision that my last night without Austin, I was gonna be like in my bed, and I was gonna wake up and be like, it's my wedding day. But I was actually on the couch with my 2 sisters now. But anyway, that was fun. That was a good time. I won't forget those days. How did you know he/she was the one?
I think there's a lot of things that go into it and a lot of things over time. But I think just the thing that really stood out over everything was something that is dear to my heart, is that's when people have that true love for people. And I think that is something that is really hard to find, and something that is very genuine in a person. And so I think that was one thing that really stood out, and one thing when you showed it, I mean, just immediately, it's something I knew I wanted to keep around. So
yeah, I would say the same for him, like immediately. I feel like we both have that trait, you know. But without you knowing our whole story, it's kind of hard for this to make sense. But we'll get to that one day in a video. But we had a season where we weren't allowed to talk to each other. The only time we really got to like see each other was when we would like in passing at church, and I would just like wave and he'd wave, and it'd be kind of weird and awkward, you know. And so it was during that season, and we were at church, and my mom was praying, and she was saying that like God opens doors that no man can close, and he closes doors that no man can open. And I'm not kidding you, like this sounds cheesy, but I'm just not lying. Like I was waiting for Austin to get there because that's my opportunity to talk to him. And so I was like, kept looking back at the door. And then the service started. And so I was like, oh, dang, he's not gonna come today. Like I won't get to see him. And then he walks in, while my mom's praying that prayer, he walks in, and like, you know when you can see the light in a dark room, even when your eyes are closed? That's how it was. And so I like turned around when she was praying, and then Austin came in in all of his work clothes and his big chunky work boots. And I was like, this was probably like 3 months into our waiting season. And I was like, okay. And that's when I feel like I was in it. I knew I was in it, but that's when I knew like the Lord also was in it. What was the most interesting thing you found out about each other since living together? It's a good question.
Since living together?
Yeah.
See, that's hard, because I feel like when you date for so long, you know so much about each other.
Yeah, but we never saw each other right before we fell asleep or right when we woke up, you know?
Oh, that she is an old lady and goes to bed at like 10 o'clock. And
That's
coming
true.
from living with friends and stuff like that, hanging out, the earliest went to bed is like 1. And so going to bed at 1 every night playing video games to your wife wanting to go to bed at 10 o'clock, that was interesting.
A transition?
Yeah.
Last night we stayed up till 11:30 watching Ink Masters, so we did stay up late last night. The most interesting part. I think that even when we were dating, I would tell stories about Austin to my friends or like to my family, and they'd be like, I can't imagine Austin doing that. Like he just has a like goofy, weird side to him that other people just don't see ever. Like ever. And I think that's what I like so much about him, is that I get to like experience this whole person that people don't see, because you're just kind of like to yourself until like you're not, you know? And so I think with that being said, even after we got married, you opened up like that much more, you know? And so I feel like that was interesting, that when I knew Austin and we started dating, I was shocked by like his personality and like how goofy he was. Like I'd never seen that in you. And then when we got married, it was even like that much more. It's kind of the same question, but it says funniest unexpected thing about marriage. Yeah, it's kind of the same. But this is funny. That was interesting, and this is funny.
She farts more than I do.
Are you allowed to say that?
It's pretty much.
That's also not true at all. That's not true. You fart the same amount as me. You just notice mine more. Because of the after effects.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that is true. I don't think more than you is true.
A lot more than we were dating. Let's just put it that way.
Well, when you're dating, you can refrain, and then when you go home, whatever, right? But like when you have no time away from each other, there's no
escape.
You just no escape, truly. I know my answer, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
She said she feels comfortable being around me in her natural
State.
state.
I didn't know how I would be. I didn't know how I would act. And I was surprised that I was very comfortable around you. Yep, that's it. Did you ever struggle with temptation in your relationship? How did you overcome the urge? I feel this is a whole separate video explaining you need to know our story type of question. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
But in a general answer.
Obviously, the temptation stuff was there, and yes, we did struggle. We never crossed that like ultimate line before marriage, which is something that we just. I mean, I honestly it took everything we had just not to push that far. But I think there was definitely times that we just didn't have our guard up as much as we could, and we set ourselves up for failure, whether it be just being together later than we should and stuff like that. But I think how we kind of beat that urge, I guess, is that I think in the beginning, when we started dating, we set very strict guidelines on what not to do and not to cross over. That way we didn't go into it not knowing how the other person felt and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that since we set boundaries so strict in the beginning,
and so soon, we didn't let any time pass.
Right, I think that helped us tremendously, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Also, like, our stories being so different, without setting those boundaries, like, we both had no idea what the other person was thinking. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure you know this, like, whoever, like, is asking this question, but there is so much gray between black and white. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes, like, Satan wants to convince us that, like, if we hang out in the gray, we'll never get to the black, or we'll never, you know what I'm saying? And that is not true. Like, you can twiddle around in the gray your whole life and be doing wrong, you know, and not be glorifying the Lord. And I think that truly I feel like that's Austin's answer, and I agree, and a lot of that applies to both of us, but truly my answer is, like, knowing your value, you know? Like, if you don't know your value, if you don't know your worth and how much your heart and your body and your soul is worth, why would you set boundaries, like strict boundaries, you know what I mean? And so I feel like not even the boundaries, but like the knowing, and that's not even being overconfident. That's just me knowing that, like, the Lord loves me and wants the best for me, you know? So why would I not want the best for myself? And the part about the letting your guard down, it's so hard when you're just so in love with someone, because in marriage, that's the only person you can just have your total guard down in front of, you know? Like, you can totally, like, be off. Like, you don't have to be your best. You don't have to be, you know what I mean? Like, you can totally just be exactly how you feel in the moment. And so when you're leading up to marriage in a relationship, you want that person so badly to have no guards, but that's just not the reality, you know? It's just not. Dating and engagement and marriage is so different from each other. I feel like that would be a really good one to go into, a really good question to go into, because I have lots to say. If you can't tell, I'm very passionate about that question. But that's all the questions, and that was so fun. And I feel like this is like a, you know, like, now you know, like, random bits and pieces of us, but there's still, like, so much you have to, like, learn and get to know and whatnot. And I feel like just watching videos and, like, following our social medias, you'll already get kind of a taste of, like, what life is like, you know? And yeah, and we'll get into it. We'll just get right into it in these videos. I think it's gonna be so fun, and I want to be able, and, like, the question, like, the goofy questions, like, what's your favorite thing to cook, blah, 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 like, I love, like, that's so fun, and I love that, and I'm sure that, like, inspires you to, like, cook, or to be a better wife, or to, you know what I mean, like, try new things, but also questions like did you live together before you were married, and did you ever have temptation? Like, I love that stuff too, and that's like doing life, you know. And so I feel like that's the best way we can go about this, and it's the kind of only way I would like to go about this. But do you want to add anything about where our hearts are at in these
I think
videos?
that you pretty much just said it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's been real, guys. I'll see you later.